work with creators, and I do creator and diversity programming for our spaces. My pronouns are she and her. And thank you, Les Watch TV, for educating me and making sure that we are normalizing our pronouns. But you didn't come to see me. I mean, let's just call it a spade, shall we? I would like to bring to the stage Jamie. Yes?
Can I curse?
Oh, please do. I curse like a sailor.
It's fucking amazing.
Right?
No, I feel so safe and warm and loved. Yes, thank you. Yeah, no, it's great.
Well, we're so glad to have you, by the way.
Thank you.
I was like, super excited.
I was feeling so weird holding a microphone.
Oh.
Like, what?
I do this. I had to train myself to hold it correctly at the right point of like.
I want to be like a pop star and be like what is it like? I'm like, yeah.
Oh no, don't worry. I do the same thing where I've been trained to hold it at a right angle because I've been told I can't hear you, and you forget that.
They don't want to talk like that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, hello.
So let's talk about your background a little bit before we dive into details. You started as a makeup artist. I would love. Does anyone know that, by the way? No. Oh, I stumped the audience. It's awesome. I love that that's your background. Like that's where you started, like on your journey. I'd love to know, like, how did that occur, and then how did you make that jump? Because I know you're on Transform Me, which was an awesome show.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's no one saw that. No, well, yeah, I mean, that was my dream, was to be a makeup artist. And so I moved to New York to pursue that dream, which I fulfilled. And I worked for like MAC and NARS and Shiseido and in retail, in like a retail capacity. And then a really close friend of mine, he's called Osvaldo Ozzy Salvatierra. He's one of like the biggest makeup artists in the world now. He's Lee's makeup artist, and Springsteen. I was his first assistant for ages, and so I worked with him primarily in fashion. So I worked like on every Vogue that you can think of, and with every model, and none of you care about any of that. So it was a huge dream of mine to do that. But then I found actressing.
I know. I should have warned you about the chairs.
So yeah.
Dramatic.
Super dramatic. So graceful.
Oh, I'm not graceful at all either, so.
So then I found acting, and then that's all she wrote, folks.
Which, thank God you did.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
So I'd love to know, like, more about, getting into acting. What was that like? What was the first couple auditions, especially being trans, and how did you approach it?
Well,
I'm just going to dive right into
I got really lucky, I think, in the sense of like, so my first job was on Hung.
Another great show, by the way.
Yeah, it was on HBO. It was a great show. Thomas Jane was the lead on it. It was really, really, really good. The audition came. I put myself on tape, which that happens a lot, and I was booked off of the tape, which doesn't happen very often.
Huge, but
it was huge. I mean, yeah, and I was flown out to Los Angeles, and I did 2 episodes of that show, and then from there, I did a show called Dirty Work, which was like a web series. It was like interactive. It was super cool. It won an Emmy. Yeah, it was super good. I mean, that was really fun. But the same thing, like I taped myself for that. I flew out to Los Angeles, and then we did what in the biz is called a chemistry test.
Which I love, by the way. I don't know. Do you guys know what a chemistry test is?
Yeah.
I believe all shows should have to do a chemistry test. right?
Yeah, I mean, it's especially if you're going to have like an ensemble cast, you know, something like that. So I did chemistry tests for Dirty Work, and then I booked that. And then I didn't work for a while. And then I was actually going to stop acting and get back into makeup. I hadn't worked, I think, in almost a year, or a little over a year. And, but yeah, so I got my resume together, you know, and there was like a big chunk missing from my makeup artistry, like in retail specifically. And no one would hire me. And so the universe had other plans. And then Sense8 came.
Of which, I mean, talk about a goal of a lifetime and an experience of a lifetime.
Yes.
So can we jump right into Sense8?
Of course, I mean, yeah. You can jump wherever you want.
So I'd love to know what drew you to that role. I mean, besides the obvious.
Well, I mean, the story goes, I mean, I've said this so many times, so, I mean, you know, like, stop me if you've heard this one before. But it was either Variety, and I can never remember, I should probably get it together. But it was like either, it was Variety or the Hollywood Reporter. They tweeted in like 2012 or something, you know, that the Wachowskis and Joe Michael Straczynski had just sold this show to Netflix called Sense8. It was going to be the sci-fi thing. And I sent the tweet to my team, which I still do to this day. You have to say out loud what you want.
Hills,
So,
yes.
creative visualization.
Yes.
So I sent the tweet to my agent, and I just said, I want to be on this show.
Thursday.
Literally. And a year later, when they started the casting process, my agent got a call one night from Warner Brothers asking where I lived and what my availability was for the following year. And my agent called me really late one night, and she said, you know, you're never going to guess who just called. And I said, who? And she said, I can't tell you. But it was Warner Brothers, and they wanted to know what I just said. And she said, are you a witch? And I said, a little bit. A little bit. So yeah, so then they sent 2 scripts, and I read them, and then I put myself on tape. And they liked me enough that they wanted to see me in person, so then I flew to Chicago. It was actually Brian J. Smith and I who were the first 2 people to audition for the show. So he and I flew from New York to Chicago. I was living in New York at the time. And we flew to Chicago, and I auditioned for the W's and Carmen Cuba, who is an amazing casting director. She did Stranger Things, and she's done a ton of other stuff. Carmen's amazing. And she really championed me for Nomi. Like, she fought for me to get Nomi, because then after I met everyone in person in Chicago, then they continued the casting process all over the world. So I fought for Nomi really hard.
And clearly it worked. Thank God. And we should send her a fruit basket.
I mean, yeah, you know, little mini muffin basket, something.
So
Yeah.
how much was the character developed when you came on? Or, you know, did it evolve over time? And how much did you get to bring to the table?
Well, so that's the thing with Netflix shows, you know, because we film all the episodes at once and they all come out at the same time. It's not like a typical network show where you start filming and then they're writing as you go. Everything is done. I mean, although, you know, the W's like to change everything while you're there, but the basic structure of everything is there. So as far as the character, that was them. I mean, they did that. They developed all those characters, and I'm sure some of you know, like when they sold the show, it was sold with a 5-season arc, and so they had the whole thing sort of
I would have loved to see that pitch, by the way.
mapped out, yeah. They have the whole thing mapped out. So I think that they sort of have these specific ideas for each character and who they were, and, you know, the different parts of their lives and all those things. Yeah, so that was all there, sort of like built in, and then we all just come in, you know, do our thing.
More about that filming process, I think, you know, one of the things that is not talked about a lot is that we need representation behind the camera too, as much as we have it in front of the camera. So I'd love to know, how was it like to work with an openly trans woman as a showrunner, which it's rare, but it must have been refreshing and telling a different story.
Yes, I mean, that's why I initially sent that email to my agent, you know, I want to be on this show, was because I thought to myself, if I'm going to be an actor, if I'm going to act, if I'm going to say out loud, like, oh, what do you do for a living? I'm an actor, like, make my living as an actor. I thought, it's gonna be another trans person that's gonna give me this opportunity. Because I just don't, at that point in my life, I just didn't feel that anyone else would believe in me enough. So, I mean, as depressing as that may sound, but that was my thought process. Like, if this is gonna happen for me, this is how it's gonna happen. And so that's why I was so adamant that it happened. So obviously then, yes, I mean, working, with someone who also identifies as trans, I mean, it was great. What I didn't know when I took the part was that so much of Nomi was written about Lana, like she put so much of herself into it, and no one told me that when I got the part. I mean,
no pressure.
Well, and then it just built over time, and so that was so hard because I didn't realize how much of, like, so much of what you see in Nomi has actually like happened to Lana, and so the pressure was so high because she wrote it and she's directing it and she's producing it and I'm playing it. It's like, oh my god.
Portraying it. When did you find it out, by the way? Was it like after you got cast, you're like, oh shit?
I think it was it was halfway through filming. It was season 1. It was here's some dish.
We love dish here.
Yeah,
dish away.
Get the exclusive. So it was actually, and I'm gonna like take it real down to the So the scene where Nomi is talking with Lido, and she's telling him the story about the swim club, the whole thing. So when we were filming that, it actually wasn't written that, oh my god, I get so like, it wasn't written that Nomi was in the flashback. So that was something that was sort of decided in the moment. There was supposed to actually be a moment. It's so funny how when I start talking about things, how everything just comes flooding back.
Okay.
So, what was supposed to happen was, we're supposed to be telling the story, I was supposed to be telling the story, and then Lido and Nomi are supposed to be sort of like in the shower, observing that situation, but in the moment it's switched, and then Mikael, and it's funny, well, I was there, because Mikael was there like all day waiting to film, and then he didn't film, which happens a lot. But they were like, oh, we're gonna have you do it too. And I was just like, okay. And then I put on the shirt, and then Lana had like a full breakdown and left. And I was like, what's going on? And then someone came to me and told me, like, well, this happened. So she's just having a really, and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. This is for real? I had no idea. And so, like, she laughed, and they cut, and we, like, stopped filming, and then, like, she and I had a moment, and then I was just like, oh, fuck. Like, this really, I was like, okay. I was like, all right, let me do it. Let's do it. And so then I did it.
But it's so amazing to portray someone else's story that probably felt very familiar to you from that aspect of one trans woman to another trans woman.
Well, no, I mean, none of her experience is my experience. I mean, but as an actor, I mean, I love that challenge, to be able to do that. It's just, I think, any character that an actor plays, is, whether it's a fictitious character, or, not, I lost my train of thought.
No, it's all good.
But I think there's always, I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, I got more questions. I love a good And talk about scorned fandom, like, I loved it. I mean, what surprised you? Was it surprising, or were you expecting it? Like, from a fandom point of view of like the uprising and then essentially getting to at least close out on the story.
Yeah.
Because of it.
Well, I think when a lot of us, like when we went into the show as an actor, I mean, it's like I took the part and I was just really hoping people would like the show. It's like I had no expectation. I sort of gave up expectations a long time ago because they just disappoint. You end up disappointed. So I just wanted to do the show. I was like traveling for the first time in my life. I was meeting these amazing people, going to all these places, and doing my thing. And I was, it was my job. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then even after season 1 came, we had filmed season 1 and it hadn't come out yet. Like I went and worked in a shop because I was like, oh, I want a job. Like I just, don't want to like blow through all the money that I just made. And so I went and I got a job and I was just like working in a shop.
Which is crazy, by the way, that like you're on this major show.
But it wasn't out yet.
Yeah, but still, it's kind of crazy. It was like...
But not. Because like, work. Coins. It's like I had just made money for the first time in my life. I was out of debt for the first time in my life. I had health insurance for the first time, like in probably 13 years. I was like, I'm not gonna fuck this up.
Great advice.
Legit. Because I had friends that were like, what are you doing, girl? Like, you're on a show. And I was like, it's not out yet, and I'm bored. Nobody knows who the fuck I am.
That's the only time you could go work at a store.
Exactly. Well, because now I can't. So I went and I worked in a shop.
I would actually like to see you in a shop. Like now, I think it would be awesome.
I was great. I can sell ice to an Eskimo. Like, that looks great on you. She got 2. Okay, wait, what was I saying? So the fans, you guys, I love you. So it hadn't come out yet, and I had no idea what was about to happen. And then it came out, and it was like, slowly it started to build. And then, when we went and did season 2, it was like, holy shit, we had like fans, like coming to the sets, like stalking us, like finding us. It was really amazing. And then,
I think that's the first time I've heard someone say stalking and amazing.
Well, you were standing, you really stand the show, and I love it. Like, I stand the show too. It's like, fan, stalker, and stand too. I stand stuff, and I won't tell you what until later if you're nice. So, I keep losing my train of thought.
Fans, the reaction.
The reaction. Oh, so then, I had no idea, and then when the show was, I didn't know what it was going to be like to be part of a fandom. I think it's very different if there are people who are fans of a show, and then when a show has a fan. It's very different.
It's extremely different.
Very different. It's very different.
It's a thing.
It's amazing. It's a beautiful thing. And when the show was canceled, I mean, it was so surreal, and we were so gutted. Season 2 was super hard to do. I mean, it was the first time that Lana had worked without her sibling. It was very different. It was really hard and really difficult. And I think we were all very aware of how expensive the show was.
Just a little bit. I mean, you guys, where did you film is the question.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing.
It's like your wedding in the Eiffel Tower.
I know. Well, at that point, it was like absolutely fucking, like we're gonna spend every penny left. When I heard that it was about the money, it was like, okay. And then, of course, with the cast, we're all messaging, like, talking, like, why can't we do half of it in studios? Like, why can't we do this? Like, why can't we do that? And it's just like, asking the creatives who created this show, it's like asking Madonna to change the lyrics it's not gonna happen. Don't even try. So that was that. And then the petition started to happen. And I was like, wow, okay, this is really great. And then it got like 500,000 signatures, and I was like, this is what the show is all about. All of these people coming together, forming this big, giant, gyrating cluster of love and energy and passion.
Cluster.
I mean, that's what it was. I mean, it was like, because I could feel the energy. Like, every time I went on my social media, I was like, I could feel it. Like, I was like, wow. Okay. And then Netflix had to be all shady and be like, we see your tweets, we see your petition. That's like, that's what I heard. And like, it's not gonna happen. And I was like, well, you could have just not said anything. That was kind of rude.
Clearly they made something happen.
But, well, yeah, and then y'all got even more gyrating. And then we got the movie, so thank you for all the gyrating.
One of the things I love about Sense8 is its authentic representation across the board in so many different ways, shapes, forms. And I think we're seeing shows move in that aspect, both in front of and behind the camera. I mean, Sense8's a great one. It was on FX. I don't know if you watched it.
I've seen every episode.
Oh my god. If you have not watched it, please watch it. It is an amazing show. And recently, Supergirl has an openly trans character, Nicole, who's amazing and wonderful as well. Do you think we're moving, how does it feel to see that transformation happen, and where can we improve even more?
I mean, it feels good. It feels natural. It feels congruent, to the energy that I think that the community is putting out there. I think that we're being heard in a way that we haven't been heard before. I mean, Pose is a great show, and I mean, I fucking love it. I've seen every episode, and I think that it's some of the best acting I've ever seen. But there still, and yes, every character that identifies as trans is played by someone who identifies as trans. But maybe they could cast someone who identifies as trans as a character that isn't trans.
Actually,
so crazy. Oh my god, I'm gonna get arrested.
They have straight cis characters all the time, or actresses all the time playing or LGBTQ.
Well, I mean, I'm straight, and so I mean that it's freedom out of frauds.
But it's crazy to think that couldn't play anything else.
Yeah, I mean, so that's where I think that improvement could be made, is just allowing actors who identify as trans, such as myself, giving us the opportunity to just audition.
To be an actor?
For anything, just like every other actor is given an opportunity to audition for anything. We're just not given the same opportunities. And so, although I do think that representation is moving in a really great direction, where characters that are trans are being portrayed by actors that are trans, and it's great. But it's like, why couldn't, on Supergirl, I don't know, what season is this, the 4th season? Why did they have to wait until now? And why does the character have to be trans, and then for the actor to be trans? Like, oh my god, just fucking put a tranny up in there on season 1 and fucking put a catering, why does it have to, yeah.
A token character.
Yeah, and it's, yeah, I mean, but it is moving in the right direction.
Well, we have so much further to move.
So much further.
I mean, listen, we've seen some great strides, and I'm always blown away that we have so many shows to pick from now, that it's not just the one gay character, the one queer character on that one show, and now it's, I can like that show, I do not like that show.
When I watch everything. I'm I watch everything. Some of you who follow me on socials, you'll know that I fan everything now. When I watch stuff now, there's nothing more annoying to me than a super white cast. Why the fuck is everyone on the show white? Why is everyone straight? Like, that's not, when I go to dinner with my friends, that's not my friends. Like, that's not what we look like when we're out to dinner. It's not what the world looks like. And so when I watch shows, I want to see people of different identities and colors, and I want to see them making out with different kinds of people of different, and that's the thing, and I don't want it to be such a BFD. Big fucking deal. Just you know what I mean? It's like, just let people kiss and let people hold hands and let that person have a job and let this person like be the secretary on that show and let that person be the boss and let us all, you know, like this is what the world looks like. So you know.
You just run a bunch of TV shows? I agree. I mean, preach.
I just want to act.
What have you watched or read or listened to lately that you're like, oh my god, I love this?
That's what no one's ever asked. People are always like, what are you watching? But no one's ever said, what inspires you? What inspires? Well,
I mean, it should inspire.
Orphan Black. And then I'd be like, oh damn, now she's playing a dude. And then I'd be like, oh damn, is it Crystal? Who the fuck is Crystal? Like, she's playing everybody on this damn show.
They were saving on budget.
I mean, no, but that show was very inspiring. I'm super into I just like binge the bold type. I really love Younger, I think is super fun. I just finished that. I don't have TV with cable, whatever, but so I watch everything in the States. We have this thing called Hulu, so I watch everything on Hulu and Netflix and Amazon. Y'all know Hulu? I wish that you had Hulu, like, you can't get it, but we have Hulu and Amazon and Netflix, and so I watch I just watched all of Sabrina.
Amazing. I just watched
it in a row. Like, I couldn't. I was like, yes, I'm still watching.
Another great show and diverse show.
It was good. Yeah, it was good. It was fun. I was entertained. I mean, I didn't stop watching it. You know.
I kind of wanted Salem to talk. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I wanted, and it was like a real cat the whole time. It wasn't. I kind of wanted like the animatronic. Oh, Sabrina, that's a robot. What else? What else do I watch? Ask me something else.
So before I turn it over to you guys, because I know you have burning questions. So I'd like to play a game called Would You Rather. Yeah.
It's naughty.
Let's play. So simple questions.
Okay.
I'll start with one. Would you rather have more time or more money?
More time.
Thank you. Because money can't buy everything.
Yeah, no, I mean, money is, I don't know. Look, the only thing that money does is afford one more comfort. It's like I can take cabs instead of taking the train. Like money, it's just more comfort. It's not that big of a deal. But time, oh fuck. The older I get, the more I'm like, whoa, where'd you go? Like, I mean, even for it's like, oh, they're like, you have an hour break. And then I'm like, great. And I sit down and I like have a Ricola and I like pour some water. And then they're like, Jamie, are you ready? And I'm like, what? It's been an hour? Yeah, time.
I always say time because I want to spend time with people.
Yes.
More time with people.
Yeah, no, go out with your friend, like say yes. Go out with your friends, like go to the concert, go to the movie, go to the thing. Just go.
Reach.
Go do it.
Would you rather have a rewind button on your life or a pause button?
Ooh. wants to go back.
See, I would like a pause button because then you could at least stop in the moment and be like, oh, shit, how should I answer this? Versus just
Oh, that's funny.
right? How
Yeah.
flying out of
Yeah,
your
no,
mouth.
I would totally, pausing would be really cool.
Right? You could like walk around too, maybe move someone.
Yeah. Like I could like pause right now and then like go out there and then take a selfie and then like come back. And then everyone's like, wait, when did she do that?
Alright, so this is a good one. Would you rather have your flight delayed by 8 hours or have them lose your luggage?
8 hours.
Neither. I know neither.
No, I will sit for 8 hours. You're not losing my luggage. I'm like, the shit that's in my suitcase. I mean, do I get it back?
Yes. Yes, but just imagine they lost it for a while.
Gross.
Right?
Delay me, bitch.
I'm
gold. I'll go to the lounge.
It gives me more time to binge watch something.
See,
like-
my equals comfortable.
All right, would you rather be stuck on a broken ski lift or in an elevator?
Oh god, an elevator. A fucking ski lift. What the fuck?
I would actually take the ski lift.
Am I alone in the elevator?
Yes, you both.
Great. Bring it. Fireman, help!
Jack, don't lose your luggage and you're not going to be stuck in the ski lift.
No. Snow, cold, I don't know how to ski. Yo, what am I even doing there in the first place? What acid did I take? Oh my god.
All right, would you rather be perpetually overdressed or underdressed for every event?
Oh, well, I mean, I already am perpetually overdressed. So, yeah. No, always over. You can never be too overdressed. Never. There's nothing wrong with being like that.
All right, would you rather go in the past to meet your ancestors or in the future to meet your great-grandchildren? Makes you think, right?
Because that means I'm gonna have kids. Oh my god. I'm gonna pick ancestors because what if I pick the kid one and then I go and then there's no kids?
Assuming there's
And like I pick that one and then you know like that game show sound that like wah wah. And then I have to sit there for 8 hours. In an elevator. So yeah, no, can I change it to go back in time to meet my ancestors?
Yeah.
Oh,
Nice. All right. Would you rather travel the world for a year and have all your expenses paid, or have $50,000?
But then I could just do the traveling with the 50 grand. No, I mean,
No, you could not do
all the expenses paid.
All the expenses paid. Travel the world.
Like, what are we talking about? Like, first class?
Whatever you wanted to classify it.
Yeah, travel the world for a year. All expenses
Where would you
paid.
go?
I'd start
You're ready for this answer.
with Japan.
Oh my god, that came up in my last panel too.
And then, oh yeah, I want to go to Japan, I want to go to Australia, I want to go to New Zealand, I want to go to China.
You're just going all.
Yeah, I want to and then I want to do like more in Canada, and then like more parts of like Ireland and Scotland. I haven't been there. Go back to Iceland. Iceland was gorgeous.
Iceland's beautiful.
Yeah. And like it makes me sad. Like I've always really wanted to go to Russia, but like I'm fucking terrified to go to Russia.
You would be both.
Yeah.
My ass
I
is-
would
my ass is not
love
going
to
anywhere
fucking
with
go to
that.
Russia, but no, I'm too terrified. So yeah. And I can't go to Dubai either.
That's another one too, but I will not step.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can.
I'm illegal there.
Back to the elevator. But wait, can I just like sidebar really quick? Like when the game was announced, I thought it was Would You Rather. We all know that game, right? I thought it was gonna be like Cosimo or Delphine.
I think we could have played that one too. Trying to keep it a little bit
It's like the
PG.
PG-13
R-rated version of this. But I'd love to open up to you guys now for questions because I don't want to hog you. Queue up. There's a mic right over there.
Hi.
Hi, so I wanted to ask if you've ever dealt with anxiety and what helped you get over it. If you've got any tips.
I mean, yeah, I took a CBD gummy in just like a couple hours. Yeah, no, so I'll tell you like radical honesty. So ever since I started acting, it's like I've become this like open wound, just like sort of delving into everything that I've dealt with so that I can put it into my acting. It's like that was part of the process, was all of my acting classes and all of that. And so it's like all of that stuff, it's like at any moment I'm just like, I feel like I'm on the verge of tears. And then especially in the past couple of years, like I've always dealt with depression. I think just like being queer, it's just like, it's like, oh, like, okay, so you're gonna get depression, you're gonna get anxiety.
It comes in the welcome package. Did you
Yeah,
know?
it's like you're gonna be like cooler than everyone else, you're gonna be like really fun. Okay, here you go. And then it's like, ooh, wait. So yeah, my depression and my anxiety are really bad. Living in Los Angeles, I've recently discovered CBD, which is cannabis oil, which doesn't get you high, but it slows down, like it helps my brain not have 101 thoughts at once that I can't grasp onto, so it slows it down to where I just maybe am having like 3 or 4, and they're like really nice ones. So that has really, really, really helped. I'm in therapy, like I so believe in therapy. I think if I wasn't in therapy, I'd be like, cuckoo. It's to talk to someone, like on a professional level, and I found my therapist almost a year ago, and he's trans. I found him through this place. And does anyone live in California?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know the Gender Center? The
Yes.
LA Gender. So I found there's this amazing place called the LA Gender Center, and it's a resource of just all psychologists and psychiatrists, and they deal with the trans community from like 8 years old to 80 years old, like everyone. And I found them, and I found a therapist. So it's like therapy, CBD, yoga, and I try so hard to be nice to myself. That's the hardest one. So I just really try to like have a cookie. Like just
Self-care, man.
yeah, like
Self-care is
calm down,
it's
like,
hugely important.
yeah, like you're okay, like everything's gonna be fine. And like if I do sleep an entire day and miss the movie or the concert or whatever, I don't beat myself up about it. Ever. I just make sure that I try next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, this actually questions for my trans friends, so they can't be here. So, how did your experiences working on the show run by another trans woman differ from other jobs? And with more and more trans actresses getting work these days, how often do you see other trans people working behind the scenes, writers, crew, etc. like that?
Well, I mean, so obviously, working, with someone like a director who identifies as trans, I mean, it was obviously great. I mean, to have someone else there. I think that this feeling that I didn't recognize until I started volunteering at a summer camp about 4 years ago called Camp Aeronautic in the States, and it's just a completely trans-identified camp. So anywhere on the trans spectrum, and it's kids from 8 to 15. I never experienced what it was like to be a majority until I was in this camp. The first year I did it, there were, I think, 122 kids, and most of the staff, everyone trans. And I remember being in the dining hall one night for dinner and looking around and being like, oh, holy shit, everyone in this fucking room is trans. I've never walked into a room and been a majority. I've always been a minority, always. And even though I have my white privilege and my passing privilege in the community, I'm still trans, and there's still a danger to being trans. And so just having a director, just having one other person there was nice. It sort of takes the pressure off. But just because, it's like, you meet another or whatever, it doesn't mean you're gonna be best friends. It doesn't mean that you guys have like all kinds of stuff in common. Which I think happens a lot with trans people. Like society, and they think that like we're all gonna be best friends. And I mean, it's sad, and I wish that we could be, but we're all different, and our experiences are different. So I mean, it was great having someone else there. It took all of that pressure off of feeling so alone, because it was such a huge project and all the traveling. I didn't ever get to sleep in my own bed, it was like with the time difference, it's hard to call friends. And then what was the second part was with representation?
I think with more kind of actresses and stuff, and are you seeing them more behind the scenes as writers in your group?
Well, I mean, that was the one thing I wish was more with Sense8. I mean, I was the only out queer member of the entire cast. So I mean, that was hard.
It's been crazy.
Yeah.
There's such a representation in that show.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know, because I haven't worked. I mean, I hear obviously about it, like on something like with Pose, which was mentioned, and there are writers who are getting jobs and going into other rooms. But I mean, that would be a question for the writers and for producers and for those types of people. As an actor, I can say yes, I think we've made strides. But I haven't worked on a project other than Sense8, where there's someone trans in the writers. I always ask though, like when I'm auditioning for shit, I'm like, who wrote this?
I love that you asked though.
I mean, at this point, I have no fucks left to give. I'm like, who wrote this? This is fucking gross. Or this is interesting. Like, did someone trans? Do you have any trans people working on the show? No, you don't have any. Oh, that's so interesting. I'm like, what? Like, why
so
is
rare to
that?
find.
Yeah. But I'm always very so great. Oh, so like, how many queer people are on there? Like, I'm always really nice about it. But because it's like,
kudos to you for asking at least.
Well, I'm in a position where I can.
No, I know.
And so and that's a responsibility that I take on very willingly. Yeah.
Is wonderful to hear. I think more people need to take on that responsibility.
So, acting upon that, what you said about how, it would be nice to see roles that of people in certain, jobs or other things, but their sexuality is just regardless of their sexuality. So, on that, what would your ideal role be? If it was totally up to you, gender, job, whatever, where they're from, what would be your dream role?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I just want to work. I just want to do something good that is sort of congruent with the fan base that has been following my career. It's I don't want to go do something super weird where y'all like, what the fuck is she doing on that? I don't know. It's I want to. It's hard. I mean. See, I'm always so when that question comes up, because it's not the first time, and it's so funny. I think as a queer person, it's I've been taught that I'm not allowed to dream. So it's I always get stuck. I should just be yeah, no. So I have an answer to that. But oh fuck, I don't. I mean, I know.
That's where we need to go. We need to go that you can play any role.
Anything. Yeah, regardless of gender identity or sexual identity. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I just want to play characters that are cool, that are juicy, where they say cool shit, and they do cool shit, and, they're, I don't know, if they're hurting anybody, it's because they're vigilante style, and if they're, I don't know.
I would totally watch that, by the way.
Yeah, right? I just want to work. I just want to, make you guys happy and proud, and I want to entertain you, and I want you to, scream and laugh and cry, and I want to do my actressing.
Well, if there's any consolation, you already did that with Sense8. I mean,
thank you.
I don't know if this is a general experience for everyone, but me personally, I found myself watching some series because of the scarce representation that I didn't love in terms of story or plot. And actually, this series was suggested by me, by my mom.
Well done,
I know.
Mommy.
And then, she's great. And then I made my dad watch, which is he's a white cis straight male, and it's his favorite show. He was so gutted, probably more than me. No, that's not but when it was canceled, and he loves it so much. How does it feel to know that it's not just a target audience? It's just a really nice story with a really great plus. It has a representation, and there's changing minds. How does that affect you personally?
Yeah, I think that the first time I realized the sort of the breadth of the fandom was I was in New York and season 1 had come out, and I was in a coffee shop with one of my best mates. She's called Theo, and just this like super average like white dude. He just came up to me and was like, I don't want to interrupt. She's like, my wife and I we love your show and you're amazing and whatever. And then he walked away and I was like, him and his wife. I was like, okay. And then
That's so amazing though. That must have been like such a mind fuck.
I was like, okay, this is because I was like, that's not who I thought would watch the show, but I was like, that's super dope. And then I was in Trader Joe's, and this much older woman, like gray hair, like her pushing her cart, she was like, oh, you're on that show on Netflix. I sure am. But it's like I've had teenagers, I've had every race you can think of, I've had every gender, every sexuality, everyone come up to me. It's like, oh, it's like, women are like, oh, my wife and I, guys are like, my wife and I, women are like, oh, my husband and I, people are like, oh, my best friend and I, it's, the fandom it sees no bounds. And that to me, I don't know, I feel like, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like fandoms are so specific, but with Sense8, it's just so broad. I've always said when I was doing press, I don't think that there's anyone from anywhere in the world that can turn it on and not feel represented in some way by some character. Because there are so many shows, I really love Friends. I think Friends is an amazing show, but that shit's racist. Just a little bit. I mean, yeah, it's they finally caught on, when Ross was dating, I'm gonna forget her name, but in season 29. You know what I mean? But I love Friends. Don't let that go weirdly viral. I love it. But you see what I'm saying? It's that's how I was raised. I was raised when you turn the TV, everyone. That's why with Sense8 it's so great, because I feel like everyone finally feels oh my God, this is what the world looks like. This is what my world looks like. Thank you for finally putting it on a screen.
I'm short, sorry. Hi, so you're awesome, the show is awesome. Thank you for being here. So, something that I really loved about the show was the fact that the Sense8s and the clusters could inhabit each other. And was there a particular moment in all the seasons and the movie of Nomi kind of taking on the skills of someone else, or Nomi providing the skills to someone else that was a particular kind of standout?
So, okay, yeah. So it's with the visiting and the sharing. So the visiting, was when Nomi would just appear, sort of next to one of the other cluster, and they'd just be visiting, and they'd be shooting shit. Not it was ever that casual. And then yes, and then within the sharing, that was when they would share, their knowledge and their skills and language and all those things. So if I had to pick, I guess my favorite. Well, the visiting, when we were visiting, it was always really funny. Do you remember in season 2 when they're in the loft and Nomi's hacking, and then they're trying to get whispers, and they're breaking down the whole cycle of what's happening with whispers, and Nomi's pacing, and as she paces, she sort of wipes in, and everyone's sitting on the computer table, and then Amanita's there, and Amanita's oh, they're all here now. But those were always really
just such a
fun.
great scene, by the way.
So great. It's always so great, when they would do those camera twigs. those camera twigs. Where, if a character sort of cuts in front of frame, and then as they exit frame, everyone else is there. I was like, it looked super like technical, but it was really nothing. Like we were all probably like squatting on the ground, and then they'd be like, now, and then we would all like stand up, and then we'd just like be there. Those were always my favorite when all of us were in it, because we could never get it right. There was always like one of us that wasn't paying attention.
How many takes would it take?
Oh, I mean, so many, and then it would get to a breaking point where it was like, okay, we get it together. Like we need to leave. The sun is going down. This and that, blah, blah, whatever. Those are my favorite, and then with the sharing. I mean, I think season 1. I'm gonna say the driving when Cassius drives the smart car and flips the smart car. Yeah, that was really good. Like, what am I doing? I don't know how to drive, and then and then she's there, and it's like, oh my god, and then all of a sudden it's got boom, go. It was very good.
Great reenactment.
You could picture it.
So unfortunately, we have no more time for questions, because I have one more question. I'm going to wrap it up with that.
Greedy.
I know, but if you saw my earlier panel, I actually ended with this question as well, so let's see if it's not you. What's the one thing you want people to take away from meeting you?
Oh, that happiness is possible, that success is possible. I mean, just that happiness is possible. I think that being queer, again, like being raised in an environment that didn't reflect who I thought I was, who I felt like I was, not seeing myself, and then finding community, finding myself. I want when you see me and hear me and, experience me. I
is an experience.
I try to make it like a little bit of a ride. I like to, I want you to just be like, you know what, she really doesn't give a shit, and so I'm gonna stop giving a shit. Because, yeah. I don't know, just like, give a shit when and where it matters. But, like, I don't know, look at me and leave here today and realize that, like, as hard as it may be, like, I don't care what people on social media, like, fucking, like, when people are gross and when people are stupid, and, like, I don't care what the fucking President of the United States says. That's, like, gonna go weirdly. But
That's gonna go viral.
I have this thing where I get scared now that I'm, like, that, like, I can't even say it. That, like, I'm so scared about everything that comes out of my mouth and how it's gonna be, like, turned into a headline and a quote and clickbait. But whatever, I don't give a fuck. So just know that you can be happy, know that you can find love, know that you can sleep all day and it doesn't make a difference, and know that you can be happy. Like, I don't know, I think that I thought for so long that I wasn't allowed to be happy, and then I was like, no. Why did society say that to me? That's not true. I'm gonna make my own rules. So make your own rules. And find your cluster, find your friends, find your happiness. Find your community. Go out tonight with each other. Go have a drink. Go have the gorgeous vegan meal. Go eat a steak. Go do whatever it is that you want to do. Like, find the people that like to do those things too. And, don't let it bother you that someone else doesn't want to do the things that you want. Find the people that do.